Day, March 16th. Already halfway through March, oh my goodness. It was a really beautiful and exhausting weekend. I forgot how much work a drum workshop is. I was making drums with some young girls, and I think it's such a gift to be able to share, our traditional teachings with our young women, um, and just really instill that sense of belonging, that sense of community, that sense of ownership within them, and really connect them to their culture and to their teachings and just to their ways of knowing. And giving them tools to do that along their path is such an empowering and huge thing. So it was a gift to be able to teach. But I'm running around and I'm wrestling with hides. I've got like lovely marks from wrestling with hides. I look awful. I've got bruises everywhere, especially the moose. The moose is always crazy thick to wrestle with, so that's a good time. But also, the next day, running around and teaching multiple styles and going from person to person to person, and just the amount of like running and the amount of standing that I was doing, I was like, oh, my body isn't used to this. And so then Monday, I was like, I can't move. So all of the plans that I had for Monday kind of fell apart, but I was still able to do some online teaching, so that was kind of a gift. But I'm just really, really thankful and humbled that we can slowly start to get back to that new normal, and I can't wait until I can do public workshops again, because I really miss creating drums with people, and just that sense of connection that we get when we make a drum. It's just so inspiring to see what everyone learns, and to be able to share those gifts with people. It's great. But before we get started today, of course, I wanted to start by just acknowledging the land upon which we stand, just because it's so important to know where we are. It's important to know where we're going, and you have to have a starting point before you can figure out your destination and your journey to get there. And so I honor where I'm at now, which is in Treaty 7 territory. I live in Calgary, which is Mohkinstsis, and it has been my home for no, off and on. I keep moving away and then coming back, moving away, coming back. So even though I was born in Treaty 6 territory, I was born actually in Edmonton in an old residential school hospital, the Charles Camsell. I have been kind of born and raised between Calgary and Edmonton. And I do miss back home because my reserve is Muskeg Lake Cree Nation, which is in Saskatchewan, not far from Saskatoon. But it's never really felt like home. It's been wonderful to go back there for ceremony and for family reunions and to connect with family, but it's never been my home. Whereas Calgary has always really felt like my home. When I'm on the right path, it seems like everything, all those roads lead me back to Calgary, and that's when we build community in a meaningful way. And so I really honor Mohkinstsis. I honor, the people who have guided me here in Mohkinstsis, my elders, the Blackfoot of Siksika, and Pagani. There's so many amazing elders that have guided me on this journey. And I'm so thankful for their teachings and their lessons and that ability to be humble and open at the same time. That's such a beautiful lesson and a beautiful teaching, I think, for all of us. I honor the elders that I know from Tsutsuna. I used to go out there to pick my medicines all the time. And this time of year, it makes me sad that I can't go out there to pick my medicines anymore, because the areas that we used to, they're all kind of taken up by the ring road, and there's a giant Costco and all of those wonderful things. But I still miss those medicines. I still miss connecting with nature and being out there. I honor the people from Stoney Nakoda. Or from Morley, Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. Again, I love going out there because I go to sweats out there all the time, and it's just really inspiring to see the mountains and to realize just how deeply connected we are, to the sky, to the earth, to the plants, to the animals, to the wind. Those Chinooks, they come right through there, and it always smells like fresh rain when those Chinooks come through, and it's just so awe-inspiring to be out there. And so I'm humbled and thankful to being here in Mohkinstsis, and to the history here and the stories that are steeped into this land. And it's so important to be able to acknowledge not only our sense of place, but that sense of place in time as well, to honor all of those generations that have come before us and led us here, and all of the things that we can still learn from them today, which is pretty much what archaeology is. It's like, how do we learn from our past? But it's more than that. It's really, how do we learn from our elders before those teachings are gone? And so it's really important to make the time to spend with the elders. So I'm very excited I get to spend time with elders, just quick little visits with a whole bunch of elders, but then hearing their knowledge on the weekends. So I'm really excited for what's to come. I also acknowledge that we are in Métis Region 3, which is why I proudly wear my Métis sash. This sash actually was gifted to me by a Siksika elder, and so I'm very thankful every time I wear it. It reminds me about those connections and how deep they run. And so I wanted to welcome everybody into the circle the same way I love to welcome everybody into any event, anything we do, by singing the Cree Welcome Song. Traditionally, when we sing songs, we sing in rounds of 4, down at the 4 directions of the medicine wheel. But this song is a little bit different. We actually sing it in rounds of 3, and that's to keep the circle open and welcoming so everyone completes the circle today. Because in a circle, we're all connected. There's no beginning, there's no end. No one is greater or less than anyone else in the circle, just like in the Hoop of Life. So it teaches us to honor each other for those differences, because if everybody was exactly the same, the world would be incredibly boring and nothing would ever get done. So we need those differences. We need the people who, keep the world in balance, people who are builders, people who are growers, people who are caregivers and teachers. We need everyone in that circle to be able to make the world work. And it's important to find those compromises. If we pit each other against each other, we're never going to go anywhere. But if we go side by side on this journey and find those alternate paths that work for everybody, listen to everybody's voice in the community, that's when we're truly going to see that progress. That's when we're going to see, everybody taken care of. And this is truly what it's about. And so Mia Sin, which is the Cree Welcome Song, it is from the Nataha family from Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation in Saskatchewan. And I honor their family for keeping this song alive and for keeping this story alive. And it just reminds me how gifted and how lucky we are to still have a lot of these teachings, to still have a lot of these songs and these gifts that we weren't allowed to share for so long. Now we're able to. We're able to bring them back into the light. And so Mia Sin, which is the Cree Welcome Song, doesn't just mean welcome. It also means beautiful. Slide my chair back. Mia Sin, Mia Sin, Hasemina, Hasemina, Epeta Kote, Niwagomagan, Hota, Homa, Kitaskino, Mia Sin, Mia Sin, Hasemina, Hasemina, Epeta Kote, Niwagomagan, Hota, Homa, Kitaskino, Mia Sin, Mia Sin, Hasemina, Hasemina, Epeta Kote, Niwagomagan, Hota, Homa, Kitaskino. Hi, welcome to the circle today, everybody. So, yeah, I've been making drums all weekend, and today I was making drums all day, and last night too, and I also forgot to turn off my phone apparently. But yeah, my hands do not smell the dust right now. My whole upstairs is pretty stinky, so I've been like running candles and things like that to make sure it doesn't smell quite as bad. But uh, it's still not the best smelling. My kids came home from school and they're like, "Oh, thanks for lighting candles at least." I had the smudge going too, but it was pretty stinky. Um, but I'm really, really thankful that I am, trying, making drums again. I missed it. I really do. It's just, it's my way of connecting to my ancestors. Every time I make a drum, I feel like it's a new voice that I'm bringing to life. And so I'm really, really humbled and thankful for that. But before we get started, I wanted to start with a smudge, of course. Because it's just a beautiful way to come back to ourselves, to get grounding, to clear off any of the stuff we might be carrying from the week, to air out some of the smell that might be happening in the house. So I'm just going to. A friend of mine got this sage. It almost looks like prairie sage, but it's a little bit, or buffalo sage, but it's a little bit different. The stalk on it is a little thicker. He got it from a little bit further down south. So yeah, it's really interesting. So it's really, smells a lot sharper too, which I really, really love. Ooh. So I'm just smudging here. Again, there's no right or wrong way to smudge. It's whatever feels good to you. I always lay out all of my medicines, even if I'm not going to be using all of them, just to honor, that balance that's all around us, because it's really important to do that, because that's what smudging is. It's really about letting go of the things that we don't need, bringing in the things that we do need, asking for the healing and the help that we need, not only for ourselves, but for all the people around us. But it's really about balancing it, because that's what healing is. Healing is bringing balance. It's bringing yourself back into balance. It's asking for the balance of the things that you are kind of off kilter with, whether it be, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, or your spiritual connectivity. All of those things we need to pray for. We need to balance, because you can't have one without the other. It's like you can't stand on one foot for your whole life, or else you'll fall over. And so it's really about that balance that we need in our life. Ooh. This is really, really beautiful. It smells amazing, which is great because my hands didn't smell very good, but now they're starting to smell like sage, so it's a great thing. There we go. Awesome. So I lay out the sweetgrass to honor my mind, to honor grandfather sun, to honor the power of fire, our childhood, and the springtime, which we're going into. Over the weekend, I saw a bunch of bees looking for places to live. And it was just great, because as soon as you see the bees, you know that spring is finally coming. And so it was really, really wonderful. I have cedar even though I have it in a little baggie. I have cedar in the south to honor our bodies, to honor grounding, to honor Mother Earth, the relationship that we have to the plants and the animals and to each other, to honor adolescence and the summertime, and growth. We honor the sage in the west. The sage is the women's medicine. It's connected to water. Grandmother Moon teaches us about unconditional love, honoring our emotions, and honoring our place in community, really honoring our community as a whole, and really acknowledging that those relationships that we need to survive. And then in the north, this actually isn't tobacco. This is a type of fungus which I have ground up, but it smells really, really lovely. I was using it earlier, but of course I have tobacco in the north, and I also have Kansasa, but my Kansasa fell behind my desk, so I don't have it right now. But I honor this. I was actually gifted it over the weekend for speaking, and so I'm really, really thankful and humbled every time I get tobacco, because that's our spirit medicine. It's saying thank you from our spirit to your spirit whenever we gift it to someone, and it's our symbolic medicine. It's the medicine that we pray with. It's the medicine that we give to the earth. It's the medicine that we give to each other, but we never take it into our bodies because it's not meant for us. And so now that all of the medicines are laid out, oh, I almost forgot. I'm going to take out my earrings, because metal holds energy, and I don't want to hold on to anything. I'm getting rid of things. There we And again, no right or wrong way to smudge. All 4 directions are in the smudge bowl. So the bowl itself represents water. No matter what the bowl is that you have, whatever holds it, whatever's the vessel, that's water. The medicine that we put in, no matter what we use, it represents earth, because it all comes from the earth. As soon as it goes into the bowl, it's earth. Today I'm only smudging with sage because I'm Cree. I tend to smudge with a lot of sage, whereas in Blackfoot they smudge with a lot more sweetgrass. And that's just different teachings, different uses. When we let it on fire, of course, it represents fire, which is our mind, and then the smoke represents air, which is our connection to Creator, our connection to Spirit. And so, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and light the smudge. Again, no right or wrong way. It's whatever feels good. It's going to feel really good to smudge. I smudged this morning, but I've just really been making a lot of drums, and it takes a lot of energy, and this just really puts me back into my being. So I'll just wash my hands. So anything that I'm carrying, I get rid of. Bring it over my body 4 times. Down to the 4 directions in my body. Smudge is a ceremony, it's a prayer, and so it can be big, it can be small, it's whatever you need. And so I'm going to smudge my mind so I can think clearly and learn from every person that crosses my path and be open-minded. Smudge my ears so I can be open to hear all of the messages that Creator sends me. I smudge my eyes so I can see clearly. May my vision be open, honest, and clear. Smudge my nose so I smell danger and cookies. Smudge my mouth so I can speak only true and kind words that are helpful. Is it helpful? Is it truthful? Is it kind? Is it respectful? If it's none of those things, don't say it, don't do it. Smudge my throat because I'm very thankful for my voice this lifetime, so we can continue to give voice to the voiceless. Smudge my lungs to remind me of that sacred breath we all share, and to honor the lungs that I have, and to heal my asthma a wee bit. Smudge my heart so I can be kind and compassionate and show unconditional love to all those that crosses my path, my friends, my family, but also to show that love to myself. Sometimes pretty hard on ourselves. My stomach, so all of the food that I eat this day will nourish my body. Smudge my belly button, because that's our connection to spirit. That's how we are connected before we come into this world. And so this is where our ancestors speak through us, our spirit speaks through us, through our belly button. This is why our gut instinct is never wrong. Smudging my womanhood, because I'm very thankful to be a woman and a mother in this time. As a two-spirit woman, I do have that masculine and feminine energy within me, which is what a lot of my teachings come from. But I'm very honored and humbled to be in this body because I am a mom. I smudge my shoulders and my back so I can carry all of the responsibilities that Creator's gifted me with grace and humility. Smudge my arms and my hands so I can do the good work that Creator's put me here to do. Smudge my legs so I walk this red road in a good way. And I smudge my feet so I stay grounded and connected to Mother Earth, treading lightly upon her, honoring her with every step. And then if there's anywhere else you need a little extra love, my arms and my hands. My hands are getting quite sore because of all the jumps I've been making, and my arms are pretty torn up, as are my hands. Like I said, the moose was really hardcore. And smudge my throat. Speaking out a lot. And then I'm just going to send some love and some healing to the people in my life that I know are struggling, that need healing, that need help. It's important to, reach out to people if they pop in your mind. Really just send them a message, and sometimes it's exactly what they need to hear at any given time. And it's been happening a lot to me lately. I'll think of someone, and then all of a sudden they'll call me, or I'll call them, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I really needed to talk to you right now. I'm glad. Or we'll just bump into each other, and I think it happens more frequently if you're more open to it. So just be open to it. And then, when you're all done, you can say miigwech, or hi hi, or merci, or grazie, or thank you, however you say thank you in your language. And then, there we go. I'm going to just let that burn out. And I'm going to put in my lovely Cocobelli earrings. So these always remind me of when I lived in Arizona. Because Arizona, it's an interesting place. The energy is very, very different. It's very, very hot. I think the first experience I had was actually getting second degree burns on the bottom of my feet because I was like, oh, I'm just going to run to my car and grab my, I don't even remember. I think I left my phone in there. But I went in bare feet and it was like a really hot day. And then I came back in. First it was ow, ow, ow. And then I didn't feel anything. And then as I came back in the house, I was like, I smell bacon. And it was the bottom of my feet. I had to go to the hospital and get them wrapped. It was a bad time. It was a bad time. But I learned really quick, don't do that. Don't run barefoot in Arizona. Not only because of the heat, but also because of the bugs. So, but the Cocopelli really was that sense of joyfulness and that sense of playfulness. It's considered like a fertility spirit, but not just making babies, but it's like the fertility of mind, the fertility of creativity, of connection, of, you know, watching that growth in the earth and watching that growth in yourself. And so when I saw them today, I was like, yeah, this is where we're at exactly because of the springtime. This is where, you know, that sun is coming back to the earth. Grandfather sun's warming up the earth and it's starting to grow. We're starting to see, you know, those wonderful pollinators come out of hibernation. We're starting to see those little plants starting to really bloom, and I'm really excited for the next little while. So that being said, I actually wanted to share the Four Directions song just to welcome Grandfather Sun back. I learned this is the Four Directions song. Or the Four Winds song. That's how I learned it. But it's also known as the Cherokee Morning Song because you greet the sun. And it was originally done by Ulali and Robbie Robertson, so it can be found on YouTube. And there's actually a bunch of different versions of it where some people are singing in rounds, and some people are having like amazing harmonies, and it's an awesome song. It's a really, really lovely song, and I'm very thankful to have been able to learn it first in ceremony and then to share. Pardon me. And yeah, so this is the Cherokee Morning Song, or the Four Directions Song of the Four Winds, and in it you can hear the winds, and so at the end of it, it's that yeah, 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 about the wind just kind of coming and going, and so it's a gift. I'm just gonna move my chair. I also wanted to share I've been hearing a lot of the Blue Jay lately, so I wanted to share my Blue Jay song, which is more like a community bird song, but to me, the Blue Jay, she takes care of her community. She makes sure that, you know, keeps people in line. You can often see the magpie keeping all of the lovely, lovely birds in line. Oops. 1 second. I'm actually expecting a call from an elder, so I hope I didn't miss them. But, oops. So this song I had brought forward with when I was working with my friend Audrey Lane, doing something called Wild Constructs, so really to honor the weaselhead. And I had I have a huge connection to the weaselhead because, of course, further up in the weaselhead, that's when I would pick my medicines up in Tsutsuna. But it was just such a gift to be able to connect with the river in that way and to connect with the beaver in that way. But then just the sounds of it, hearing all of it's like an orchestra of bird calls and an orchestra of, insects. And even in the winter, there's still that orchestra of birds. And you can always hear, clear as a bell, that blue jay calling through. So it reminds us to keep our voices crisp and to really honor and respect everybody's voices around us. To know that sometimes we have to step up and, raise our voices for other people, just like the blue jay will have to raise its voice to warn others about like predators that are coming. So the blue jay always honors that. The blue jay also is really unique in the way that it can actually mimic other birds' calls, and it does that for a few different purposes. So it can try and reason with other birds to get them out of its territory, but also so if something were to happen to another bird, it actually steps into those nests and takes care of those little younglings until they're able to fly. And so it shows us that in our communities we have to do that too. We have to step into those roles sometimes that maybe we weren't anticipating, but they're a gift no matter what. And this is really just about bringing community together and supporting community. I think we've lost those teachings about, raising a village. It takes, a village to raise a child, but it really takes all of us to raise a village. And so it's really about acknowledging everybody's place and everybody's voice and how everybody has different things that they can teach us. And the blue jay is very humbled because it always pays attention and looks at those things, and it values everybody's voice. And so this is the blue jay song, or the community bird song, which is my song. Actually, it's not my song. It's just a song that happened to come through me. I don't feel like we take ownership of songs. We can acknowledge where they've come from, but there's no ownership of them. Way on, way on, way on. 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 Way language, guys. So I'm going to share. Thinking about the water song, been like pruny because of the drums that I've been making. So you have to use a lot of water, and I just realized how much I appreciate it. And just how thirsty I get. So after a workshop, sometimes I forget about that self-care during a workshop. So I just go and go and go and go. And then afterwards I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't peed all day. I haven't drank for like 8 hours. I really need to do that. And so I'm always so thirsty after a drum making workshop or when I even make drums. Not only are you working with so much water and it's just pulling that water back out of you, but she said about the appreciation that we need to have for water, and so I wanted to share the water song. And the water song we actually sing in, of course, 4 rounds. There is 2. There's a back and forth. There's a gentle part, and then there's a strong part. When I hear the song, I hear the thunder and the rain and the lightning, and so a storm kind of gaining speed and then tapering off at the end. My friend, she hears, herself in a canoe going down a river, my cousin. And so she hits those rapids and then eventually hits a huge waterfall. And then my other cousin, who is in Vancouver, she hears the ocean rocking back and forth, those tides pulling in and out, and how it just escalates. It gets faster and faster and faster, and those waves are crashing. But to know that they will calm after that storm is really, it's beautiful. And it teaches us that in our lives, it's very much the same way. We go through so many ebbs and flows, and it's important to have and appreciate our good days just as much as it is to appreciate our bad days, because without them, without our bad days, we wouldn't appreciate our good days because it would be all even keel all the time and it would be super boring. But also we wouldn't really know how to appreciate it. And I always say, like, some of the most hurt and traumatized people can also experience some of the greatest joy. And even in my own life, I went through a lot of hardship, but I had a choice whether I was going to make myself very calloused and very sheltered and hurt, or if I was going to say, these are the things that I've learned from it, and I don't want anybody else to experience those things. So I approach everything in a really positive and compassionate and loving way. And really, that journey that I have been through has given me that strength to do it. And so it's a gift to be able to feel those emotions, and it's important to honor our emotions, honor our tears, because that's what makes us who we are. That's how we connect to a community in a meaningful way. And so this is the Anishinaabe water song. I believe the Odaminquay singers share a version of it online. And I just learned it through many, many different channels. I learned it from cousins. I learned it from a couple of elders. But it's just such a lovely song, and it's really great to be able to teach to kids. Because not only is it pretty easy, because there's just 2 verses that repeat and repeat and repeat, but it also, it gets faster and faster and faster and faster. It escalates, and kids love that. Any excuse to go a little crazy. And so we're going to start slow on the edge of the drum, and then we're going to get faster. And I really should have shut my phone off. Wishita do ya do ya do ya. Wishita do ya do ya day. Wishita do ya do ya do ya. Wishita do ya do ya day. Wishita do ya do ya do ya. Wishita do ya do ya day. Wishita do ya do ya do ya. Wishita do ya do ya day. Wishata hey ya hey ya. Wishata ya hey ya hey. Wishata ya hey ya hey ya. Wishata ya hey ya hey. Wishata ya hey ya hey ya. Wishata ya hey ya hey. Wishata hey ya hey ya. Wishata hey ya hey. Wishita do ya do ya do ya. Wishita do ya do ya day. Wishita do ya do ya do ya. Wishita do ya do ya day. Wishita do Love that song. It sounds amazing when you're singing it with a big group, and even if people are offbeat, it sounds amazing because it sounds like those waves, or it sounds like when the rain washes over you. So I love it when there's so many voices and they're all off in some way, shape, or form. It's so good. I can't wait to be able to sing together again. So soon, because it's going to be beautiful. So the next song I kind of wanted to share. This but has been stuck in my head for a few days actually. It's the grandmother and grandfather a thank you song. This is Anishinaabe as well. I had learned it. Actually, I had relearned it from my friend Jessica, who had shared it, and it's just such a really beautiful and fun and catchy song, but it reminds us just to be thankful, to be humble, to thank our ancestors that brought us here, our grandmothers and grandfathers, to thank all of our two-spirit elders that guide us on this journey. But it's really about thanking Mother Earth and Grandfather Sun and Grandmother Moon and Brother Wind and all of our grandfathers, which are the stones. And so just being thankful for everything around us. So this is the thank you song, and it's quite short. Miigwech naga mahon nasak, miigwech naga manoko masok, miigwech naga hey hey, nagat oh hey oh hey oh hey, oh hey 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 oh hey oh hey, miigwech naga mahon nasak, miigwech story in a song. I love this song and I love the story. It's weird singing it without other voices to sing it with you, but this song I had actually learned from one of my elders, Carrie Moore, and it's just such a wonderful song to bring community together. It's called the Berry Picking Song. It's also known as the Voices Song or the Ancestor Song, or I call it the Shout Out Song, because at the end you get to shout out, which is awesome. And so the story behind this song, it goes back long, 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 long ago. So in our tribal days, traditionally women would go berry picking, and they would bring all of the kids with them, all of the two-spirit people. They actually had to learn both berry picking and hunting, actually had to learn everything so that they could fill in the gaps wherever they were needed. And it was such a blessing to be able to have those two-spirit people within your community, because you knew that nothing got left behind. But in our communities, we had matriarchal communities, which means the women were not necessarily in charge, but they just made sure that everybody was included. So it was less about, that top-down system and more about that community-based system of you make sure that everybody's heard in that circle. And so your grandmothers would usually be the ones in charge. And I don't know about you, but my grandmother, pretty terrifying. Nobody argues with that woman. We've got long family history that, nobody argues with Kokum. That's for darn sure. I totally should have shut my phone off earlier. So I lost my train of thought. So the grandmothers were in charge. Yes, the grandmothers are in charge. And so as everybody would go berry picking, the grandmothers were the ones who made sure that nobody got left behind. Everybody's voices were heard in that circle, just like in the community. They kept everybody together, everybody within the community. And they really were making sure that, everyone felt valued and everybody felt appreciated. And so when you would go berry picking, your grandmothers, of course, would sit the biggest bush, and they'd be the ones keeping an eye on everybody, making sure, nobody was getting into too much trouble. But for the most part, they would be watching the babies. And if anybody knows how babies explore the world, they put everything in their mouth. And so the grandmothers would be like, ugh, like, don't eat that rock, or spit out that pine cone, or don't chew on dirt, or get that bug out of your mouth, or don't eat that leaf, or don't eat that flower, or put the squirrel down. Squirrels don't belong in your mouth, because babies are disgusting and they will put anything in their mouth, quite literally. My little guy used to put the cat's entire face in his mouth. I don't know why the cat was so tolerant to let him do this, but it was a thing. So, and my eldest used to just eat lint, and so it was just this constant vacuuming thing just to make sure you got all the lint, but he would always find little bits. So that's just how babies roll. The littler kids would be, they would be usually eating more berries than they'd be picking, so they'd generally be sticky. Kids under the age of 5, generally sticky. That hasn't changed in thousands of generations. They would, of course, be hanging out with the elders that were too old to go hunting. They had amazing, amazing stories. A lot of the grandmothers had amazing stories. So the littler kids would be listening to all of these wonderful stories and playing as much as they could, because that's how we learn, by exploring the world around us. And then the older kids would be running around, playing tag, skipping stones, climbing trees, going swimming, shooting bow and arrows, hopefully not each other, because that's super unsafe, but having a good time, really learning about the world around them by experiencing it. And play is such an amazing form of learning, and I think we forget to play as we get older, because we need to do that. It's part of our being, and our children teach us. So they're pros, but of course usually eating more berries than they're actually picking, because they're too busy having a good time. The teenage girls, of course, would be off talking about their crushes, which hasn't really changed in thousands of years. So they'd be, oh my gosh, did you see that guy's moccasins? He is so super cute. Yeah, that hasn't changed in thousands of years. And of course the mums and the aunties, but they would be the ones picking all of the berries for the nation for the year, because again, in thousands of years, not a lot has changed. And so as everybody would get scattered to the 4 directions doing their own thing, and it was time to go, the grandmothers would call out, but they wouldn't say, yo, where you at? Because that would be ridiculous and totally not relevant to the era. But they would call out using this voice. And as soon as you heard that voice, you knew that was your grandmother calling you. So I would hear, be like, oh, well, that's my Kokum. I should probably call back. So I would call back, She'd be like, oh, there's Chantal. And then I would hear, right, there's my cousin Megan, I know she's okay. And then I would hear, there's my cousin Yvonne, I know she's over there. And then I would hear, who. There's my Auntie Georgie, I know she's over there. And so you would know exactly where everybody was and that it was time to come home. And this was really important because in times of war, in times of danger, you would have a safe camp, but you wouldn't just walk in and be like, hey, is everybody okay? Because you didn't know, right? You didn't know if it was safe. You didn't know if you were being followed, if the camp was compromised. And so you would wait. You would wait until silence fell and until darkness fell. And then you would call out. And then you would listen. And I would hear, all right, there's my friend Ashlyn, I know she's over there. And then I would hear, all right, there's my son Lyndon, I know he's over there. And then I would hear, all right, there's my cousin Stephanie, I know she's over there. There's my friend Darcy, I know he's over there. Whoop, 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 whoop. There's my cousin Michelle, she's over there. She's a little weird, but that's okay, I know she's okay. Hey, hey, hi! I can't do my mom's voice. That's my mom. I can't do it with a straight face, but there's my mom. So you would hear all of these voices and you would know that it was time to come home, that you were safe to come home, because we can still hear in each other's voices if we're okay or not. But then, of course, once we knew everybody was good and we could hear it in their voices, we would come, we would gather, we would rebuild camp, and we'd celebrate the fact that we'd found each other again. Now we don't use our voices like we used to. I mean, I do because I'm a crazy person. And it's just amazing because it's such a part of you. It's an extension of you. It's who you are. And it's our way to call out our ancestors. It's our way to call everyone around us and just resonate. But of course, we don't use it like we used to. I mean, I do. I use it at Walmart. I use it at Safeway. I use it behind at the music store. Pretty much anywhere that I have to wrangle my kids. And I'm just, you know, you don't want to yell at them. And if a kid turns around and is like, Mom, there's like 20 women that turn around and go, yes, oh wait, you're not mine. So if we have our voices, it makes it so much easier to connect. And so if I'm at Walmart and I can't find my kids and it's time to go and I'm tired of looking for them, I will call out. And then I'll hear, or there's my son Lyndon, usually in the electronic section. Then I'll hear, Mom, could you just not? You're embarrassing me. All right, there's my son Cloud, usually in the deli. And then I'll hear little footsteps behind me and going, oh my God, you're so embarrassing, as two girls come up behind me. And of course, I've mortified them for life every time I do that in public, but I find them every time. So your voice, when you find it, it might be a squeak, it might be a roar, it might sound like an alien or an animal, but no matter what, it is you. It is uniquely you. And it has your flair. And no matter who hears it, they're like, oh no, I know exactly whose voice that is. So, for example, if I'm doing that at Walmart, occasionally I'll hear, hey, you were at my school. Or I'll hear, Chantal, hey! And then a friend of mine will come and say hello. So it's amazing how our voices can really, really deeply connect us. And so this song is really about finding that voice which is right here in your belly button. And so this is where we're connected to this world before we come into it. And so this is where we're going to find our voice, because that's where our spirit is. And so we're going to take a deep breath and we're going to let it out right from our belly button. And you have to take stock because it might get stuck. It might get stuck in a few different places. So you got to figure out, where is it getting stuck and why is it getting stuck? Is it getting stuck in my mind because I'm overthinking things or I'm worried too much about what other people might think? And so it's not letting me let my voice out because I'm just overthinking it. Is it getting stuck in my mouth? Because a lot of the times I'm just talking for the sake of talking, or I'm talking to appease other people, and I'm saying a lot, but I'm not really saying anything, and I'm not really sharing my true thoughts and my true values and my true voice. Is it getting stuck here in your throat because you're just not speaking out at all? So every time that we just stop talking, whether it be for ourselves, for other people, standing up for what's right in our community, or things that we believe in, giving voice to the voiceless. If we're not doing that, sometimes our voice can get stuck. And it's getting stuck in your shoulders or your back. So those are things like your responsibilities, like your friends and your family and your work and your school. Those things that we tend to put on other voices that aren't really our genuine voice. And sometimes our real voice will get lost in that shuffle. So it's recognizing that there's pieces of our real voice in those voices. But let's come back to the core of that real voice and stop putting on that voice for other people. Is it getting stuck here in our heart? in our chest. And so this is where a lot of that, pain and that hurt and that trauma and that sadness, all of that kind of gets trapped around here, specifically in here. And so it's just knowing that you deserve love. And it's really loving yourself to be able to let that voice shine through. And it's really about healing and knowing that, those things that happen to you, they do not govern you. They do not make your voice what it is. They do not make you who you are. They give you that strength to rise above. And so it's really about honoring those things that have happened, healing from them, and moving forward and letting that voice out. Is it getting stuck here in your tummy? So this is your self-doubt, your self-worth, your self-esteem. So anytime you're like, I suck, or I can't do it, or I'm not smart enough, or anytime you talk negatively to yourself, it holds your voice down. So just honor who you are and just rock it out and really just let out your voice. I think my favorite quote is, we're not afraid to fail, we're afraid to succeed beyond measure. So just succeed beyond measure. And besides, if you fail once, you're not going to feel the same way again. So it's really about honoring that journey. Or is it getting stuck in your belly button because you're simply not breathing deeply enough and letting out that voice? So no matter where it is in your body, recognize it and let it out. And sometimes it might get stuck lower because you just need that grounding. So just spread your feet apart, really plant yourself on the earth, and take that deep breath. And just imagine that breath going straight into that earth with you, with your belly. And then we're going to let out our voice. Awesome. And so the song itself is, it's a grandmother calling out, and you're calling back. And so the grandmother would call out, way-ya, hey-ya, way-ya, way-ya, hey-ya, and you'd call back, way-ya, hey-ya, way-ya, way-ya, hey-ya, 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 way-ya, hey-ya, way-ya, way-ya, hey-ya. So we're going to sing that through 4 times, but it tells the story that I just told you. So the third time we're actually going to get really, really quiet, because that's the part where they're looking for their safe camp. And so once they found their safe camp, then that last verse gets loud and boisterous because we found each other. And then we're going to do a fast drum beat at the end. The fast drum beat is like a prayer beat or an honor beat. It's like the drum roll, please. That was totally yes, you're welcome. But that will give us that ability to connect to that spirit and call our spirit forward. And then we'll let our spirit out, and you'll scare all your neighbors. It'll be awesome. So this is the very beginning song, and I thank Carrie Moore for it. song. I love it so much. So I wanted to share with you one last song before I leave. So this, I believe it's the traveling song, but I think I'm going to sing the Thunderbird song. As for so long, I was using the Thunderbird song as a closing song because the Thunderbird is really about finding your path and really about honoring your journey, honoring that everything happens for a reason and really trusting in that, whether it be, you know, recognizing that, yeah, there's some things that are bad, but it's that strength that we can gain from those lessons learned so that we make sure that we can move forward and, you know, don't push that on other people. It's okay. It's not okay to be traumatized, obviously, but if you take that trauma and you turn it into something positive where you can actually support your community and help people heal, that's a gift. But if you wear it like an armor and you hurt other people, then that's not what you need to be doing. So it's really, this song has helped me through so many times that have been challenging because it reminds me that everything does happen for a reason. And even though at that moment it might not seem like it, later on, when we see the gifts that come to us through those experiences or the path that it puts us on, that's truly when we see that joy and we can live in gratitude. For example, I got hit by a truck, you know, almost a decade ago now. And had it not been for that accident, I wouldn't be where I am. And so at the moment, yeah, it sucked being hit by a truck and not being able to walk and all the hip surgeries that I've had to go through. But I'm thankful at the same time because it allowed me to find my voice. It allowed me to come to a place where I could share my teachings and my stories and my songs, go into schools and, you know, create beautiful things with and share just culture in such a meaningful way. And I'm so thankful and humbled by that. And had it not been for that accident, I wouldn't be here. And so this song is the oops, pardon me. This is the Thunderbird song, and this is Anishinaabe. I had heard it originally from my great grandfather, and then it came full circle again with a couple of my elders, Carrie Moore being one of them. There was also a few others actually. So this is the Thunderbird song. And this is just so that you have a wonderful week ahead and enjoy this wonderful spring weather. And hopefully we won't get another dump of snow before everything starts blooming. So much again for joining me for a fabulous Tuesday. Sorry about leaving my phone on. That usually doesn't happen, but again, I've been up to my elbows quite literally in making drums, so I'm not smelling the best and I'm a little fuzzy in the brain, but it's all good. So hi everyone, thank you again, Magwitch, and I will see you next week. Have a beautiful week. And yeah, St. Patty's Day is tomorrow, although I don't know, it has something to do with snakes and green things, but really just honoring each other and honoring the earth. We'll see you soon.